Hello, everybody. It's Max with Crypto Talk now. Could Quant reach a mainstream level? That's the bottom line. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into what I'm referring to. So, as we can see right here, this comes straight from Midas Digital, who's really doing a great job with his quant coverage. He's a quant maxi. And he got this particular snippet from Lewis, the crypto coach. Of course, it's from TikTok. But nonetheless, I feel as though he pounds it home straight to the point on how we achieve just that for crypto to go mainstream. So let's take a moment to listen to just this, and we'll come right back.
I just bought Quant for one very simple reason, and it's not because of the massive hype that I've been seeing on TikTok. Do you actually know what it does? So here's what it is and why it's now my 5th holding in all of crypto. Quant allows for cross-chain interoperability. I know that sounds ultra complicated, and that's exactly why it's important. Cross-chain technology will allow different blockchains to work together. Crypto is confusing. If you now go to your parents and you ask them, what is blockchain? Not only do they not really understand blockchain, they don't understand that there are different blockchains. This is all like years and years and years away from people understanding. And my thought process is that people actually won't end up understanding. For example, you don't need to know how the internet works to use the internet because you just use the internet. And when you've got cross-chain interoperability, that is the end product for somebody like your grandma to use the blockchain or to use Web 3.0. They don't need the understanding. They need all of that complicated technology pushed into one interface that uses all the blockchains, and it comes out as this retail-facing platform that is very simple for the consumer to use. That's what cross-chain interoperability can do for blockchain. Quant could bring crypto to the mainstream, and that's why I've added it to my portfolio. Every week, I let my members know on Patreon exactly when it might be a good time to be buying or selling.
All right, it's just that. I mean, think about what he's saying, cross-chain interoperability. And I think basically that's just that in itself. That's how we basically achieve some of these things. Of course, there's a little bit more that I want to show you in that regard. Again, shout out to Midas Digital. And there's this right here, right? He states, these are 100 of the world's most valuable brands. In the next 10 years, the Quant network, if it continues to deliver the way it has been doing, and which I feel that way as well, it will undoubtedly be a $1 trillion company. Quant has the power, in, of course, his humble opinion. And that's the way I personally look at it as well. Again, not financial advice or anything like that, but look at how this is broken down, right? So, we zoom in a little bit more, and it's just that. I mean, you basically see this global ranking, like it shows right here, the circle size is based on brand value. Of course, one of the big players, if not the biggest player, right, is what you see with Amazon, the big number one, right? Number two is Apple. And you're looking at, for instance, how this is just all basically broke down. And I feel as though like Quant will definitely be in this particular mix. It's just inevitable. Right. So, heck, you even see it. Was it? You see, Google, of course, Facebook was, right in that mix. And of course, this is actually a little while back, right? But still, it pounds it home on how we achieve this with the brand value growth for the likes of, for instance, with Quant. You got to, basically compare, contrast, and reflect how it's basically doing. Like in our previous video, we brought you how, for instance, Quant has basically achieved certain milestones, right, within about 4 years and so on, and you compare it to the likes of, for instance, Bitcoin, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. Definitely wanted to show you guys that. On top of that, there's this, and I'm going to show you guys this quick video. There's about 2 parts to this, but again, like it mentions, it's about 30 seconds of a Quant, or I should say, of Quant CEO Gilbert Verdian, in his particular introduction, I should say, with this particular event that happened not that long ago. Again, like it says, just listen, you'll basically understand how Quant is reshaping the system. So here we go. I'll be right back.
Thank you. Gilbert Verdian, founder and CEO of Quant Network. We've solved interoperability at scale, and the background to money is a 20-year career in cybersecurity. I ran the payment infrastructure as the Chief Security Officer for the Bank of England, so keeping all the money safe across all the payment systems and the payment rails. And now we're also company guarantors to Pay UK, putting the strategy in place for future payments, including central bank money as well, but creating an ecosystem around what's the potential of money and what we can do with it. And that's my interest. We're shaping the system. Thank you.
All right. So there is that. And then, of course, I'm going to show you guys the next part of just that. Again, straight from Midas Digital, it says in the coming years, everything will be centralized. And let's face it, whether you agree with that or not, it is a reality. You can literally see it coming. I feel as though the Wild West of crypto that we're in right now, those days are very limited. You might want to take advantage of those times. Again, not official financial advice like I was stating before, but the whole concept of this Wild West of crypto that we're in, the days are definitely numbered, right? So it says, like it or not, it will be. So investing in the company that will be one of the main architects seems logical, right? And here's the next part in regards to that. I'm just going to go ahead and blow that up for you guys as well. And here we go. We're right back.
The financial system has been around, the one that we're using for quite a while. It was 70 years ago where we have the electronic version. Now we're moving to the decentralized digital version, and we're re-architecting the system for the first time. I like Libra opposing, but not because it's of a concept, but I don't like it that it's Facebook. And as a security person, they've done this before. They've tried to allow free internet for the un-internet, emerging markets, and using the data to monetize that. So what we need is 100 more Libra type of technologies, but backed by governing central banks, governments, consortiums that work together to create this new financial system that we're heading into. So I think that it's a great potential for this technology right now. And we're at the verge of a next generation of the financial system. And it's all about stability, governance, and growth. And we're heading there. The financial system is...
So like he points out, the next generation of a financial system, you may not be, okay with the whole idea of CBDCs, right? Just like the next guy, right? But the point is, it's the technology that's behind a lot, behind a bunch of these, right? Why wouldn't you want to position yourself to recognize just that? What he's talking about is like the next generation of those financial systems. We're always talking about Web3, right? Because basically we're at, the foundational periods of that. Actually, a little bit further than that, right? But for instance, with the like of Quant, they are the premier player that connects everything with just that, everything. So on top of that, like what he mentioned, being part of that next generation of that financial generation or financial system is huge, right? So, that's the way I personally look at it. And I, of course, feel as though that with everything outlined, like we showed with you or showed to you in this particular video, these are the things that basically allow Quant to hit that mainstream, both on the on the retail and financial side of things. I know a lot of times here at Crypto Talk Now, we basically, mention it's not about, for instance, the retail sector, right? And how that's not the focus. But if anything, I think it's like a little bit of a combination of both at this point, especially with what they're doing, not just on the financial sector, but let's face it, payment APIs, what you got going on with Web3. I think Quant just separates itself from the pack. So there's, of course, this as well before we wrap up today's video. And again, I'm not trying to get into the whole concept of like conspiracy theories or anything like that. But I do like the statement, and it at least, gives you a chance to take a step back with some pause and observance of this particular statement. It says, let's take a look at how the world works. For those who do not know, then understand that Quant Network is at its highest point, connecting this legacy system to just that, everything. Banks, institutions, corporations, governments, and so on. Quant says, overstand what you hold. Overstand. What a statement. All right, I'm going to blow this up for you guys. So it says how the world actually works. And if anything, it's just this, like you heard this expression, especially in politics, years ago, whether you agree with this statement or not. Again, I'm not trying to get into politics, right? But of course, there is the whole thing of, especially from the early 2000s, especially if you live in the United States, the whole concept of trickle-down economics, right? So I'm not going to get really into how that works or anything like that or make it political, but take a moment, of course, to look at this. So for me, it's like, look at the very bottom of this. So you see this, what is referred to as this visibility line, says you are not taught and aren't supposed to know anything above this particular line, right? Just take a moment to think about that in itself. So, of course, there's, of course, us, the people, right? And that green line where it says, the money and the power is sent up, right? Money as in taxes, right? And it's just that this breakdown really, really makes sense. So, that money goes, of course, to the, the local governments, and of course, state government, federal government, right? And while that's happening, you have the authority, which just keeps being sent all the way down to just that. These particular steps that trickle down literally to the people, right? And then it's like a flip of the pyramid, right? So at the very top of what we see from our own perspective at just, regular Joe Schmoes and whatnot, you happen to see this particular thing with, like the federal government. And, for instance, the money and the power is just like it mentions, is sent right up from there to international corporations, the banks, and then the banks to the central banks, as in like, the Federal Reserve, Bank of England, you name it, right? And we're always, of course, talking about, what's going on with the central banks here at Crypto Talk Now, especially with this whole thing with ISO 222 and so on, right? And then it goes from there to, Bank of International Settlements. And of course, you may agree or not with this, the whole thing of high elite control, who's really behind the veil and so on. I don't want to get too into that because then it starts kind of sound, let's face it, a little nutty. And I don't want to, go too far off into a different direction. But, if anything, you could probably agree with how this goes up to at least the central banks and then, of course, the Bank International Settlements. So I think it's just that. And if anything, recognizing where Quant is played into all of this, right? So, guys, that is today's video in regards to Quant. Was more than glad, of course, to bring this to you. And I feel as though it's just that, just like what you saw at the beginning of this particular video, how we basically reach, crypto from a mainstream perspective. If Quant is, and I should say if, it literally is, connected to everything, right? Where the large financial institutions, payment APIs, Web3, you name it. I think it's just that, your grandparents and so on and so forth, right? They don't understand how it all works. And they may never understand. But if anything, it's just like how they first got on the internet, right? They never understood how it works. All they know is that it did work. And if we can get to that point for crypto, I think that's basically how it goes mainstream. So there you have it for today's coverage for Quant. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. May you all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next one.